I chose to rework this unit after my first year of teaching because it was something that I didn't feel like the students were necessarily as engaged as they could have been, and the assessment for the standard that we were working with, Speaking and Listening 8.1, didn't really authentically measure what the students could do if they could participate in those collaborative discussions. What I did this year to make it a little bit different was I adapted other resources so we could clearly meet the standards so the students would know what they were able to do and how to be successful. By doing that and developing those success criteria for proficiency, the students were able to understand what they had as a clear focus, and they had academic discussion starters that would help them if they were kind of not as comfortable speaking with other students, that they would have that.
Because they are not like forcing you to join the Army, but they would, if you have an interest in it, then you should join it.
I agree with Adam. Like when it says loose talk and cost lives, it means like until the military secrets, then it'll be a big cost, right?
I agree with Pete because it says propaganda relies on emotions and values, and if someone's saying that if you're not part of something, then you're with the enemy and you're against the enemy, you might not want people to think you're for him, so you do whatever the propaganda is saying.
I want to add on to what Dibble said.
Once the kind of gap was identified, I naturally went to my networking and other educational resources. So at our building, we have an instructional coach. I also had an induction coach from Grant Wood, the area education agency, and my PLC, of course, were helping me to kind of develop this new strategy. And I also went online to find different resources about Socratic circles and Socratic seminars. So in a Socratic circle, there's an inside circle and an outside circle. The inside circle were the students using the discussion stems and kind of talking about the assigned questions, and our focus was propaganda, so that was their discussion topic. I chose the topic that was related to our unit, but also had many different facets that were going to have that complex thought process that the students would have to engage in. That's the inside circle. The outside circle was also equipped with their own tasks. They were the coaches. So they were assigned to one student in the inside circle, and they had to be evaluating that partner throughout the entire first part of the circle. There was then a halftime where they would have a coaching discussion where the students would look at the rubric and say, okay, this is what you've done so far. This is what you need to do to be successful in the second half. And that really was a powerful discussion that we saw a lot of students who maybe didn't talk in the first part of the circle, but once they had that peer support from the outside, really felt that they knew what they could say or they knew a question to ask and were helped by their classmate in order to really show that success. This year, what I did to kind of help increase that student engagement was to have clear standards for the students and clear success criteria to help them be successful, so they knew exactly what they needed to do. I know that in other classes when they had incorporated Socratic circles, sometimes it fell flat or the students just didn't feel comfortable participating in that discussion, so I looked for ways to kind of clearly outline what they had to do in order to participate in that discussion. So one of the things that I found was academic discussion starters. So the students had a list of discussion starters that would help them to kind of start that phrase that they wanted to talk about, or how to insert their opinion, or to just say that they agreed with someone else in the circle, and to kind of bounce those ideas off of each other to really have a collaborative discussion.
So when do you guys think it's okay to use propaganda? Yeah.
I think it is okay to use propaganda when you're trying to sell a product or trying to get your business out.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. I disagree with Tate because I think propaganda is more about trying to change your opinion instead of actually buying something.
I agree with Ivana because propagandas are used like for politics and stuff, or political stuff, and that's not really selling you something. That's just like your opinion on it.
The thing that sticks out to me is that I didn't have to be a part of the conversation, that the students were having those discussions on their own. I wasn't anyone's coach. I wasn't in the inside circle. The students were responsible for their own learning and really took that as ownership, and they really enjoyed that piece. My students blossom. I had students within the circle that were using discussion stems to have that highly academic discussion based on the learning that they had done, and also just based on what they had in their minds that they wanted to share. The coaches were helping the students to be successful and to succeed and giving specific constructive feedback in order to help their peers. And I was amazed at how even some of my more timid students chose to speak during the circle, or just to ask questions that they had. I felt like it was more engaging for the students. They also had a clear way of showing that they were proficient on a standard that last year I didn't feel like I had any way of telling you specifically they were proficient or approaching or exceeding on speaking and listening 8.1. It was just a standard that we touched on but didn't really clearly assess.